Here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Pit to Pro podcast. Today's episode number 38. We've got a very special guest today. Ben Josephson is on the line with us. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thanks, boys. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, first and foremost, happy birthday to Matthias. It's his birthday,
24.
23?
That man
24th
know
birthday.
for.
Happy birthday to Matthias. And
Birthday.
Ben, we're super, super pumped to have you on. Ever since we started this about a year and a half ago, you've been the number one guest we wanted to get on the podcast. So this is exciting for all of us.
This is
Um,
super intimidating. That's all I know. Got all these great guests, and we know way too much about each other. So
yeah, I think that's what'll make it so good. Um, But I want to ask, I think this question is really gonna give our listeners a look into how creative and curious you are as a coach. And I remember, must have been my second or third year, we were talking and you were speculating about writing a book about all the lessons your kids have taught you about volleyball.
yeah,
And I was wondering if you could share some of those lessons, like the boots in the mud one or some other ones, and if you're still planning on writing that book.
I don't know if I'm still writing the book, but I'm still getting lessons from my kids. That's for sure. Um, Man, I'm drawing a blank. There's one that Gracie just pulled up the other day that we used, and it was awesome. But um, the the two ones I'll reference my favorite one after the boots in the mud. But basically, the premise is these kids are awesome. Like they tell you stuff, they ask you things, and you're like, man, like where'd that come from? And they're always so curious, and parenting is so complicated. But honestly, it's very similar to coaching. And you guys are crazy and curious and say the darndest things, and then you kind of morph through a season with your athletes too. So it's all kind of the same. But um, so that we use this analogy where Cooper basically made a mud hole in the backyard, and stepped into it. His boots got stuck, and he came out of the to me in the kitchen, and like, why are you just all muddy? And he walks me out to the yard, and his boots are just stuck in the mud. And it was just struck with this, like, hey, that's the analogy for what we want our blockers um to be like. Was where they take off, we want them to land roughly back exactly where they took off, stopping, drifting, and rotating. And so and there's a bit of method to the madness in that, history is best remembered through stories. The brain is going to remember a story or a joke or a phrase more than it's going to remember the details of, hey, when you step with your right foot square this way, like, as opposed to when I tell this story about Cooper and his boots in the mud, then you guys, oh, like, you all remember boots in the mud, I'm sure, still to this day, and kind of what that means for blocking. Well, whether you believe it or not is a different story, but it's at least a memorable thing. So these stories and analogies, that was one. You know what? And my favorite one, and I don't know if I've told the story enough, but Cooper was just starting to play hockey, and we went to this his first game, and he was terrible, like by far the worst player in the team. And so, I mean, he couldn't do anything. And so we're driving home in the truck, and he's kind of got some tears in his eyes, and he's talking, Dad, it's just so bad. Like, I can't play with these guys. I know. Like, what do you say? It's like, I can't lie to you. You're definitely not good. Um, and then he's kind of sniffles and pulls himself together. He's like, you know what, though? I can be the hardest working player on the team, though, Dad. You know what? I can be the best teammate on the team. And you know what? I'm going to be the most improved player on the team. And those things I can do. I'm still not going to be good, but I can do that. And it's like, holy cow, this little 8-year-old just kind of took all of this emotion and disappointment, and just kind of reframed it in a way that can be really productive for him. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's the good stuff, and we're all going to hit those levels. And anyway, so, like, just these amazing lessons from kids, and again, I have a million from you guys and other people, but it's kind of different when it hits from your kids. So those are just a couple of the stories, and there's a more of a list, but I just think
Yeah,
that's kind of how people remember stuff.
100%. I remember a lot of them, like the water balloon one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's countless of them.
Well, we can't give
Um,
away my whole content for the book. I mean, you gotta wait for the book,
Yeah,
right?
for sure, for sure. That's true. We'll pause there. I'm curious about. I would say it's evident that you are always thinking about volleyball. or helping your athletes improve, or helping or working on improving yourself, is that exhausting? And how do you turn that off when you go home? Like you're playing with your kids outside in the mud, but you're thinking about blocking.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know that it's ever off, but I also don't know that it's ever on. So it's not exhausting because and I'm not just sitting there on the couch thinking about volleyball instead of playing Catan with the boys. I'll be playing Catan with the boys and something will like, I don't know, spark and like, oh. And then what I have learned though is if it's really important and it's a volleyball thought and it's not appropriate for what I'm doing right now, like again, let's play, we're both playing Catan. We're really into Catan right now. So I'm bringing. So if we're playing Catan and I have a thought about a blocking scheme, boom, write it down or enter it. And if it's a good thought and I don't need to build on it, just capture it. And actually, Ryan Hofer had some of the best parenting advice I ever got. He was talking about, man, Cooper was super young, and he was just saying, our job sucks for family. So we're just gone a lot of demands on our time. And one of the things he said was, your kids aren't going to judge you for being gone for work. They're going to judge you for the way you are at home. And I just thought that was such an awesome reminder. Like, hey, if I was just gone for 4 days recruiting and doing these things, and my kids are fired up to see me, but if I'm not present with them, then they're going to think that they're not important. Like they know I have to go to work in the morning. That's fine. But when I'm home, like, am I playing Catan or jumping in the lake or playing some pepper in the backyard? Like, so I think learning how to capture your volleyball thoughts, which, like you said, like they're always kind of there, but then be really present with your other priorities. I think that's a survival tactic, especially those of us who are pretty invested in what we do.
Yeah. I think that's applicable to like even university athletes, like coming
Oh,
home
sure.
and not even like just letting it go after practice. Like there's days where I come home and I stew for 2, 3 hours, don't do any homework, don't do the dishes, get nothing done just because I'm thinking about how shitty practice was or how
Yeah.
bad. Like it just, I don't know. I think that's, yeah, it's just a great lesson for even just life. Like,
Well, that was another huge piece of advice I got somewhere along the way. I think it's from my dad, maybe. Is like I would just after the games, as an athlete especially, it just bother me for hours. I couldn't sleep. And I don't remember if who, maybe it was Ron. I don't remember, but some leader, important person in my life basically said, "You got an hour, man. If you can't sort your emotions out in an hour, win or lose, like you got to get that done. Like celebrate with the boys, be pissed, go smash something, whatever you got to do. But after that hour, you got to move on. Because whatever you got to put those emotions away and start moving forward with what the lessons are and getting prepped for whatever's next. But I definitely think there's something to that.
So, what about that last, excuse me, I'm kind of sick. What about that last game at Trinity at U of M, national final? We
Which
lost.
one? I don't remember that one.
Good answer. That was obviously heartbreaking for everyone involved. And I think times five, times six, times 100 for you being the end of a chapter. What kind of emotions are running through your head at that time, and how long did it take you to kind of set that aside and be like, okay, I did have a great career at Trinity. I had a huge impact. I left it way better than I found it because I can't imagine that was an hour.
Yeah, you definitely are gonna break me on this one. Um, I honestly, my overriding emotion was actually for you two. Probably felt worst about it because you guys didn't play the way you wanted to, and I know how long that was gonna burn you up, and yeah, and that always what hurts is watching, yeah, your players just underperform in the biggest moment, and then on the flip side, I'm sitting in my hotel in Lexington watching you guys win the next year and equal excitement. I could be happier for you guys to win that one. So yeah. Oh, I knew this was gonna happen to this podcast, you buggers. But I think that was probably the biggest one I thought of. And for right or for wrong, I never actually think about my interaction with the game, with the team. I've never thought about those things before or since. That's just not how I'll ever think. I guess. I think
Ben, your
sorry.
audio's kind of cutting out there. I don't know if it's for you,
I
you
think it's
guys too.
raining. I think it's raining. It doesn't rain here much. Um, it, maybe if I pop my earphones off, should I try that?
Yeah, that might be better. Sorry, that was a bad time to stop, but we could. It was
Oh,
just
actually,
like,
let me pose myself here because that was crazy. The difference of that one though, too, Jess, is every time we had lost the national final, which sucks that we have to say every time because it was too many, we had won the next 2 years in a row. And I think there was something really, and I'm very proud of that for our teams because in 2010, they lose coach error. That was all on me. And then they won 11-12. Then we lose again in 15, and that's on Ryan Slater. And then they win 16-17. And Slater is unreal in those. Like, I mean, it's a team game, but like, hey, someone's got to be the bummer, and then we lose 2018, and honestly, that's on Katurgis, but and Kerry freaking McDonald. But anyways, but then all of a sudden, then we pull off 19. We would have won 20. I'm convinced. So then we had to wait till after COVID. And so then when we lost in 22, I was like, oh, that's what sucked. Is I would have loved to have watched what you guys ended up doing and end up winning the next year. Like just the people we had, the character on the roster, the pride and the work ethic that you guys have, team after team. I think that's why that happened. And I was super proud of those groups because, John Weed hanging the silver medal on the net every day to remind everyone that they lost. And we had no idea he was doing it for the longest time. We just show up to the gym and it's just silver medal there. What the hell? Who's doing that? And sure enough, it was John Weed. But anyways, like that's that cool stuff. Watching people respond, watching athletes respond to failure or disappointment. And like I said, I mean, watching you guys respond that next season from afar was just so fun. And then the way you guys played down the stretch too. It's like, yeah, that's what really great humans do. And I think that's not having me a chance to be a part of that. That's probably the worst part of that loss is not getting to like, oh, now we get to see the good stuff. Now we get to find out who these people are, who we are. And I mean, that's the best part of coaching is kind of when you get these, I don't know, memorable life moments to figure out if you're a real man or not, real athlete or not.
That's cool. That kind of reminds me, actually, one of my favorite quotes from you is the good after good idea. And I remember one day you said, "You don't have to be great, you just can't be bad."
Yeah.
And I think about that often, quite often, especially in pro. You don't have to be great, you don't have to get MVP, you just can't be bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's so relevant
Yeah.
to high performance.
Especially in games like volleyball. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess sports consistency is what greatness is. I mean, that's why the GOATs are the GOATs because they've been great over time. But you're right. I mean, how do you be good after good? And I think that's pretty good life lesson too. I mean, man, you got 5 days in the week. You can't expect all five to be good or like awesome. But if everyone's good, that's a pretty good week or a pretty good month. Or, I mean,
Mhm.
that's not my quote, but that's coaching. Like, no, nothing I've ever said is original. It's just synthesize other people's wisdom into something. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know who that one is. That sounds like a Tom Black quote to me.
Well, it's yours in my mind.
That's so it's almost like a sad reality that you kind of have to get kicked in the butt at some point, I think, in your career, so that you can respond, you can see your blind spots. That was a huge one for me in that moment. I was not on autopilot, but things were just going well for me in my career that whole time. and then that one just absolutely crumbled, and then that kind of revealed some patterns in the past. I was like, oh, okay, like it just didn't hurt enough for me to make any big changes, and then yeah, that was probably I'm probably the most grateful for that game out of any game in my career. It's also like the worst. It's equal and opposing best and worst game of my career, I think, in terms of what it did for me.
I think there's two parts to that though, T, is we talk about scar tissue being the toughest, but it only scars up after you got cut. The other one too is if you're not getting hurt emotionally after disappointment, you're not investing enough or you're not doing something hard. Like if you can break up with your girlfriend and it doesn't break your soul, you didn't really love her. Likewise, if we didn't feel that heartbroken after that game, then I don't know that we belonged in it. We probably didn't invest enough to really earn it. And the fact that, after those games, we do feel that broken. Yeah, we gave I mean, we just didn't play good. That's fine. That's sports. But man, there's no questions that you guys didn't give enough. But your point, now we got to figure out better because it still wasn't good. Like there was no lack of investment or care. Like you guys tried. I mean, that team tried their best. It just didn't work. So then, and you can't fail safe everything. Just like parenting, like I can't protect my kids from everything. But when it does fail, like then let's leverage that. That's the greatest chance for learning and response. And I mean, there's a bunch of brain chemistry of that. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Like there's so much good stuff after failure. And then you add an emotional component to add to drive and focus and lets you have that recalibration like that. That's amazing. You guys heard that story, Jocko Willink, the good story? I mean,
Yeah.
that just summarizes that mindset so well. Now, that's pretty cool that you could just hear that stuff and say good. Like I don't know how, but that's why he's a Marine and we're volleyball people. But that is absolutely the mindset. Like, hey, you lose the national final with the best roster Trinity's ever seen. Good. Watch what happens to these boys after this. You get upset on the road and your season ends. Like, good. It's never gonna happen that way again. Like, I think if great performers have good mindset. I mean, that's such a powerful thing. I was reminded of that the other day, and I don't think I've applied that in my life very well, to be honest. But I want to.
Yeah. No, that's such a good one. I I've been thinking about it over the last couple of years. I think it's so interesting that essentially what we're playing for is just an emotion and memories, you know, because the medal itself doesn't hold a ton of value. Like it's not worth a bunch of money or it doesn't change your life. But yeah, the reason that we do all this stuff is for like a feeling at the end of the season, sense of accomplishment with the group. And when you get into a final or something, it's like you're at the blackjack table and or the poker table and you just went all in with your
Yeah.
emotions. And
Oh, yeah.
then yeah, you either come out like on top of the world or on the bottom. I think it's so interesting. Emotional poker.
But man, isn't that the best? Like,
Yeah.
it's just the best because it's the same. It will never feel as good if you didn't risk that much. I mean, you can't win 1 million if you risk losing 500. Like, it's the best. And it also, but man, does it hurt? Oh, does that hurt, right? And um, I think the thought that popped in when you were talking was security and significance, I think, are two really, really important pursuits of the human condition. And I think sport is one of the areas that supplies that. But I also think so, like security, like that. I think that has to do with your community and your relationships and like where you find your identity. Like this is you love going to the room to be with the boys. You love having routine to your day. You love having feedback that you're accomplishing something. But then I think we all search for significance in our relationships and our pursuits. And so I think all of those things, like those are some of the things that sport provides, but also like that's what I look for in my home life. I want to make sure I'm secure in my relationships with my wife and my kids, but I also want to make sure that we're making significance with our family, and whether it be externally or whether our kids are having these moments and growing and being prepared for. I just think security and significance are two kind of foundational principles to coaching and leadership. And I think that's to your point, is like you went all in trying to do something significant. But if it wasn't that significant, you wouldn't have risked that much. I mean, I don't know.
Yep,
You don't
absolutely.
put 500 grand to win 600 grand,
Right.
like just another 100. Like that's just foolish. But when the stakes are high, you got to put a lot into it. And
Hmm. And I think that was the big change for me after that game, Ben, is I realized, or I learned how to love that feeling of being all in, especially in the big moments where, yeah, really enjoying the pressure and the process, and taking in the feelings, not just after the game, but during. And
yeah,
then I think that helped me, increase my odds of coming out on top. But it was just like I started to love, like, not knowing if I was going to win or not. Whereas before, I'd be like, oh, gotta get this over with, man. Like,
yeah.
like if we could just like win, that'd be awesome. But now I'm like, I'd rather just play.
I've heard you talk about previous pods, TS. I think that's just such a mature way to look at competition. I just hope, like, I hope a lot of athletes listen to that. I think it's so. And Jess, you're going to go through this summer with your wedding, but what advice I got for my wedding is they're like, make sure you pay attention to what's going on, because everyone talks about it's just being a blur. And next thing you know, it's over. And the day, and I'm like, God, I don't remember. Well, no matter how bad you try, that's kind of what it is. But I just think that's the reference point too for you, TS, is man, like if you don't really take in the moment, this huge, significant thing you were trying so hard just went by. And then even if you bring it down to a microcosm, just a game, like you
Mhm.
trained your ass off for a long time to be good at volleyball, and now you have a chance to perform. And if you're not really in the moment, then it's just kind of going by, even the hard stuff. I just think that ability to be present is just such a unique trait for performers, and honestly, all of us. Um, Seems to be a theme. We're talking about that a lot, about being present. That seems to
Yeah.
be a coming up.
I heard an
What?
interesting thought the other day that about wasted time.
Mm,
Like people are always worried about wasting time. And the idea was that um, the only wasted time is time not spent in the present.
mm,
So even if you're doing
yeah,
something like, I don't know, maybe you're watching a movie instead of working or whatever. It's like, okay, I'm wasting time or whatever. But if you're like fully there and like in the moment watching that movie, that's not wasted time at all. But if your mind is elsewhere, either in the future or in the past, and you're not where your feet are, then that is wasted time, no matter what you're doing.
that's a good one.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
That's wizard level. Nice.
What'd you have there, Jess?
Well, I think we're starting to talk about the same thing over and over again, but I was just struck by what you're saying. What was it was significance and what?
Security.
Significance and security. And I remember our podcast with Brody, and I'm gonna mess up his quote, but we were talking about that last national championship that we lost, and he said, in a way, we didn't lose because of how close that group was and how much we learned from that group and how incredibly formative that season was for all people involved. And I just thought that when you were talking now, I was like, that is so significant. Like the medal, like you said, TS has no value, but the group and the cohesion of that group was so significant that in a way we didn't lose in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, we lost and it hurt, but the the people side was so significant. I thought that was really cool that you also brought that up.
Yeah, I mean, if we're coaching and playing for a little piece of steel that's going to go in a box and never be seen again, then everything we're doing is futile. Now, if it's not, and if we're not looking at a Stanley Cup or championship trophy, like if we're not pursuing something that massive, then it just doesn't pull the greatness out of a team and a person. So it has to be perceived that way. But at the end of the day, the only things you take with you are the memories and the relationships. So we can't, I mean, if we're talking about that stuff during the year, think about like, all right, we're in a tough practice. I'm managing. Oh, it's just like, it's all about us and these relationships. You guys be like, we can't pass, man. Like, just that stuff isn't going to matter. But we all, as humans, especially as we mature, and that's kind of our job as coaches, is to make sure, like, if we can get you guys all on the same page, pursuing something with every little bit ounce of your being, then you guys are going to pull stuff out of yourselves and each other that you'll never access in another way. And it's going to spin into other parts of your life. Hopefully. That's like the grand theory of leadership and coaching. And that's something that's where, like, when we talked about, I was crushed because I knew how hard that was going to be for you guys to deal with. But that's honestly the whole bit of why we do this, because these things are going to teach us the things that are going to matter. And they're going to make these memories and bring these groups together. Like, you can't if you don't get close to stuff that matters and big things. And then it's, I don't, the people are going to spin out of that motivator too, though. And like, we've lost, every team, like, somebody's going to come, volleyball just doesn't mean that much to me anymore. And then they spin out because their priorities and their time investment isn't in that same goal. And then they'll be like, oh, volleyball is taking up too much of my time. Like, no, it just doesn't matter enough to you anymore. You have other things that matter, and that's awesome. You then go do that. You pursue that because it's just a volleyball game. It's just a trophy. That's not what this whole thing's about. So the moment that an athlete starts to figure out what they really care about, then they spin out of the game, and they spin into a different sport or spin into farming, or but I think that's the beauty of it, is then they take those tools and memories and relationships with them, and then they hopefully apply that to being the greatest farmer Saskatchewan's ever seen. And I think that's kind of the whole bit.
I agree 100%.
Welcome back.
I honestly, I think me and Tias were talking about this, and we probably touched on another podcast, but the intangibles that you get from being coached well and from being in a team and leadership and whatnot are way more important when it comes to an employment setting than I think anyone ever thinks about. Like, being able to work in a team is something that not a lot of people can do.
Yeah.
And by doing that at a high level, you are already kind of a step above other people or other candidates in whatever job you're looking for. And I think that's where it's hard for athletes to get jobs post-secondary or post after school, because it's like, oh, you don't have any work experience. It's like, yeah, but I have 15 plus years of teamwork and hard work and sacrifice. Like, I think that's kind of the neat part about it.
Yeah.
I coached a club team this year. It was my
Nice.
first, yeah, is pretty good. It's my first time head coaching a team, and it's tough stuff, Ben. Like, I don't, I didn't have the appreciation for coaches, and especially great coaches, to the level I do now. Like, it's crazy. I don't know. I don't know if it's my personality or whatever, but I'm curious, when is it time to give a team a kick in the butt? And, you know, versus, let's say, not that being supportive is the opposite side of that, because I think giving a kick in the butt is a form of support, but when is it time to do that?
I'll start with a quote from Scotty Bowman. He said, everybody needs a pat in the back. Some just lower than others. A great coach knows when to do what. And I think another great quote, Doug Reimer, is this idea of do no harm. So I think if you don't know, don't. if you're sure, yeah, kick away, because
Hmm.
that's part of it too. But I think that there's a couple parameters that I think a coach needs to understand is what is our job? Our job is to make our team perform better and play better and be more collective. So if you're making a reactionary challenge to the team, a kick in the butt, if it you believe you're trying to accomplish any of those things and this is the best tactic, absolutely. But if this is to make you feel better or feel like you're doing something or like, I don't know what else to do, like, I think that's pretty immature and irresponsible of the coach. I think if it is a targeted, intentional, this is what we need for these reasons, then yeah. And then you're gonna have to be accountable to your decision, and there's gonna be a fallout from it always. Like, but for me, those moments were when our culture was being challenged, and so whether that was treating each other well, playing well, preparation, effort, like, and over time, not just a moment or a day or a guy, like when there was a significant cultural break, and sometimes that was like a massive underperformance, like a choke. I sometimes viewed that, but it wasn't because of the match. I think the match was a symptom or of the cause, which was a lack of performance, laziness, complacency, selfishness, like some things that creep into your team all the time. And sometimes you don't see them coming, and all of a sudden, oh no, we got smoked 6 straight sets by Sask. It's like this needs to change, and this is why that happened. But I didn't see it coming, and I mean, I remember another weekend in Mount Royal, we just got our asses kicked. And I mean, so those guys on those teams can remember it. Like we came back and I think I snapped and we learned some hard lessons that week. But it wasn't because we lost. And I think that's the big one is don't kick your team because of a result. And then make sure that if the athletes don't know why they're getting kicked, you're just being a tyrant. Like sometimes athletes, like I've had you guys come in before and like, hey, I think we need our asses kicked here. Like we're not working hard enough. Maybe, but like athletes know when you guys are and those good ones, when you're kicking butt on your team, like or you're getting your butt kicked, it's like, yeah, we deserve this. We saw this coming.
Yeah, that's
So does
interesting.
that answer your question, T? I
It
mean,
does. It does. And I think that's a great framework for thinking about it. Also, I think the challenge for me was that maybe I was underinvested or something, but I never felt like genuine anger or frustration towards my players. I think that's a personality thing as well. Like I was the same way playing. I never, ever, ever felt like my teammate needed me to get on them or yell at them. I just focused on doing my job. That was my big thing. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Well,
there's the Elser boys emotional triangle. Jesse feels everything other people feel. Oog feels everything himself, and you feel nothing. I know it's not that clean, but there's nothing wrong with that though, T. But I think as a
Yeah,
leader and a coach, like you need to understand what you are, and that's an incredible strength. But there's a backside to it though. Is if you can't really empathize with what those players are feeling and you can't emotionally engage in some of those things, then you have to find ways or players or staff support that can, because that's an incredible tool to stay emotionally right there so that you could be that perceptive and above the emotion to see what's going on. It's awesome.
yeah,
You also know that you got to have your blind spots covered as a coach and a team. And that's why the
yeah.
cool part of a volleyball team is you have everything. Like you got the warden who's just dialed and like robotic, and then you got Brody who's all over the place, and I'm freaking out, and then Jackie and Schnitzy are just talking about how high they jump. And I'm out, dude, you are high, man. It's like, but I think, like, and then you just Jesse's like just making sure everyone's loving each other, and Colton's running around being smart. But I think that's the cool part of teams, but also that's the cool part as a coach. Like you got to understand who you are and who you're not, and then figure out how to support that, and then also evolve too. So you have to be better when you know. Like you're responsible. We talk about this all the time, but when you get exposed to something, you are now responsible to make the upgrade once you know what it is.
Mm.
So your only job is to be curious and be interested in getting better. Um, and then once you know, then you got to get your butt in gear and try to get better at that. Like you don't know
Mm.
what international passing is until you've seen an international server. You're like, oh damn, this is going to be hard. So now you got to get to work and get better at that. You can't spike against a collegiate spiker if you're a high school kid. You don't know what that looks like. You know, we talked to these kids at camp this weekend about you have to learn to play the block. You have to learn to play the block. There's no court. There's no court. And they're like, yeah, watch this. And then they pump. Yeah, but next year in college, there's no court. So they do have to learn how to play the block. So sometimes the context is going to teach the lesson. So I think for you, Tias, is just recognizing this was what I learned. So now you got to get to work and figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, Ben, can you go over the timeline of like when a lesson is learned? I think that was a interesting one. Like the lesson is not learned when you fail, but it's revealed, it's learned when you.
Yeah. So I have no idea if there's any science to this, but the way I kind of preach it is failure reveals the lesson. Success means the lesson's been learned. So, I mean, think about your two championships. The lesson is you guys weren't good enough to play in that moment for a lot of reasons. So that's a macro lesson, like underperforming in the moment. Um, but then, so that's revealed a lot of things. A lot of lessons were revealed to us. It's like, man, we got to get better at this. We have to have better routines. We have to be more present. We have to be more engaged. We have to be less selfish. Who knows? We got to spike better with our thumb up. Or I don't like it could be big or small. I think the belief is once when you're successful is when you're learning stuff. As the next year when you guys won and a lot of those things were the reason, it's like that's where like these lessons get rooted. And for me as a coach, that's why it was really important to be good, as I really believe that success is where these lessons root. So think about where you guys are at in your lives and some of these things that you believe. If we didn't win, or whatever winning you define, like if we didn't find success through some of these things, then that lesson just doesn't root the same because it didn't produce the results you're looking for. It's just like a really cool theory. Like, oh, I love that, but it didn't work. So it's like having a great hypothesis in the science world, but the studies don't prove it's right. Like it's not a truth. It's not a lesson. And
Mm.
I think that's why it was really important that when we leaned into a lesson that we acknowledged when it was successful, because then I just think it rooted deep.
Hmm.
Oh, on
Yeah.
the flip side, you also got to know when to bail out. And that lesson is not real. Like that hypothesis was wrong.
Yeah, I always absolutely loved that thought process because so many people like you'll lose a match and be like, oh, but we learned a lot. It's like, no, you haven't. You
No.
just got showed where you just got exposed in your
Yeah.
weaknesses.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And now you need to start learning.
The cool
Um,
part is now you know a lot of things you got to learn.
yeah, yeah.
What do
So
you,
I really love that because you know like the classic quote, it's like the classic quote, it's like you either win or you learn,
yeah.
but it's like you either lose or you win and learn.
Yeah.
Like winning is just
Yeah.
so much better. Um, or you lose and you,
Sure.
yeah, things are revealed. Anyways, I always really, I use
Yeah.
that a lot. Like when something doesn't go right, it's like, okay, well, now there's a lot of things that I know I need to do.
Yeah.
Let's go learn them. And it
Well,
doesn't just happen right away.
there's the post experience, like I don't know what they call it in the military, something like a post action eval or something. Like they have acronyms for everything in the military,
Yeah.
but basically that's what we're doing in match review. So that there it is. Like we lose that game, well, frig, there's a lot of things we got to learn now. And
Yeah.
the hope is as a coach and a leader and a performer, the hope is, and you guys know this from pro, is like I've got to tick off these lessons fast because if I don't, I can't keep up with the game and I'm not going to get a contract. I'm going to get caught. I'm going to, and as a coach, like I got to stay ahead of as many lessons as I can for our team so that they don't cost us matches or cost us opportunities. So that's what we're doing to the best of our ability. But we also have to understand like there's so many things we will never see coming. And that's where, so when it
Mm.
does, what a gift. and here's Jocko's good. Like you lose something good. Now we know the stuff we didn't know. So can we try our best to know what we have to do as people to keep moving forward and constantly be looking for what we don't know? We're also limited in our capacity and our knowledge and our ability. And sometimes we need life events to shed light on stuff that we're just not good enough to come up with on our own or with our staff or our team. That's why you have great people around you to try to get the best out of it. And that's why I think Trinity teams were pretty awesome for a long time. Still are. But when I was there, like that was always a thought. It's like, what are we not seeing? Like, what are we not doing? Like, why do we not win the championship this year? And it's going to be because we missed too many serves. Well, sure enough, missed too many serves or whatever.
I thought I always one of the things I always admired about you, Ben, was the the expectations and the ways to get there were very, very clear.
Mm.
And we would start the season writing out the roadmap on the whiteboard with specific numbers. We need to serve in at this percentage. We need to side out at this percentage. And then going back to the kick in the butt thing, it's already clear what the goal is or was. And it's
Yeah.
already clear where we're lacking. So you have the whole team, staff, players, everyone knows we did not reach the expectation. It's
Yeah.
not like you come in one day and say, "Oh, we didn't serve good enough." You just came up with this number out of thin air. Like it was day one, September 1st. Everyone knows what the expectation is.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks.
a good point.
Yeah. I don't know if that adds to the conversation, but
No, that was a good point, Jess. Ben, when you were speaking there, I was thinking how important it is to take practice seriously and care each day, because then it hurts when you don't achieve your daily goal, and then you can iterate faster on those failures and those lessons that are revealed. If you have a bad practice or you don't meet expectations on a certain day, but you don't care about practice, you only care about the games or the championships,
Yeah.
then you won't have enough failures in your season to
Yeah.
iterate and get better.
So two kind of macro philosophies I think popped up. One, Jess, core philosophy for me is like freedom within the framework. And I think those kind of key performance indicators, or we call it the staircase, like whatever you want to call it, I think that provided the framework for the season or for the team. It's like, these are the things that we're going to play within. And then what happens inside of that, that's the cool part of a season and a team, is it's going to be its own thing. Think like a painting, like you have a frame and inside of it is what's going to happen. And we can't control that, nor should we, because that's the coolest evolution of a group of humans and experiences and lessons. But there has to be some kind of framework. Like this will lead. And over time, we learned kind of what we believed, or I believed. And so that kind of led. And then Tias, I think this concept of like a seesaw or I don't know, is that, yeah, like a seesaw. What's another name for a seesaw?
Teeter-totter.
There it is. Teeter-totter. Um, I think that concept, and we've talked about that a lot over the years, but I think this idea of balance is something that humans need to strive for, and for sure teams and athletes. So if you want a result, you have to put in. And if you're putting in more than you're getting out, then people break. Like, I'm giving everything and all we do is lose, then people quit. Or people put nothing in. But as soon as like your return on investment is kind of appropriate, then I think you see great engagement. So another story I love to tell is, those thick rubber bands. Like I'm sure you guys did this when you run around the house. Like you snap each other with those rubber bands and you pull them back. We always talk about the elastic response, and essentially this is what we're dealing with. Is like the further you pull it back, the more it's going to hurt. If you pull it back too far, it will snap and hurt you. So too much tension isn't good. Not enough tension, you don't get the power. And I think there's that idea. All of these are analogies about balance. And I think figuring out how do you have the appropriate amount of stress and tension on your team or your athlete or yourself to propel motivation, execution, performance. Again, too much stress and you break, not enough stress and you don't get pushed. So I think that's your job as a coach, but also a leader, but also in your own life. Like if you're just comfortable not doing anything, well, and you have dreams, well, that's completely out of balance. If you have no dreams and don't put anything in, you're in perfect balance. Good for you. Like you're probably a really content person. That's great. But it's all balance, and that's everything in training load. That has to do with your goals and your training. That has to do with your, everything. So I think these idea of freedom within the framework and balance are two kind of really core principles to when you're dealing with a team or a group of humans.
Mm-hmm. I was actually talking to our mom about that yesterday. Just like kind of random that we brought it up today, but I was talking about like working and what I put in to a job where I'm not the boss.
Yeah.
Let's say I am never going to get out as much as I put in, whether that's a feeling, a monetary amount, whatever. But if I am in control of my own destiny,
Hmm.
I know that I will put in a hell of a lot more and I will get a hell of a lot more. So I think that's the same thing with a coach. If a coach is sitting there like a boss and only giving you as much as they think you're worth or they think you can do, versus the best coaches are the ones that, same thing, allow you to kind of play within the framework.
Yeah.
They let you, and that's the same with the best bosses. The best bosses let you run and do your thing, and they know that you're going to make money for them. And I think it's sweet, and it's kind of funny that I was just
Yeah.
BSing with my mom about that, but
Think about the national final. Like you guys are going to win or lose that thing, not me.
yeah.
So if you guys don't care about it, then we're going to lose. Like I can't care about it. It's not going to help you. My job is just make sure I give you the information and the training and the mental balance and whatever tools I can give you. But like at the end of the day, you guys are going to win or lose that thing.
Mhm.
So teams are championships, not coaches. Like I always get frustrated when people are like, "You've won this." I'm like, "No, those teams won that. Like those teams won those championships, and nor did I lose those. Well, I lost 2010. That was on me. But I mean, those teams lost those championships too. So like I didn't cost the team more than the team, and I didn't win more than the team. Like players won or lost.
What happened in 2010?
I did harm. I did harm. Uh, so we had upset Laval in this epic semifinal. They were undefeated, and the Rudy Verhoof Ben Ball era. You should talk to Benny about this, but and man, we are feeling sweet. It's like I'm third year coaching. We're in the national final. Calgary upsets Alberta on the other side. So now we're playing Calgary, and it's like neither of us belong there. Like we both pulled upsets, and we had beaten them the last 3 times we played. But what we didn't understand is they had changed their lineup, and all of a sudden now G was on the right side, and Jay was in setting, and like everything changed. And so we oh man, before that game, I was thinking that I'm gonna fire up the guys and like give them the motivation to. So I mean, I talked about we're gonna serve them out of the gym, and we're gonna overwhelm them with our speed, and like I was just so confident and fired up on our team. I had no idea how big those moments are, and it was like throwing gasoline on a bonfire. Like just we made 21 unforced errors the first 2 sets. Like just we just gave them 2 sets, and then we settled in, and then we traded sets, and it was a good volleyball game after that, which would have should have been. Like there's a reason those two teams are in the final. There's a reason. Like they're awesome too. They're playing great. They figured it out just like we had. That's why we were both there. And then the idea to disrespect your opponent's ability and performance, and so I overjacked our team, and then it cost us 2 sets. And that's the deal. Is what I learned there was, and there's talk about lessons, is your job is to enhance performance. And that's the only thing. Like I shouldn't be the one firing them. I should be the one taking the temperature of the team and figuring out, okay, they're pretty jacked up. Maybe I need to tell a funny joke or calm them down a bit. And, um, and then other times maybe they're a little bit like freaked out. So then you got to break the ice. Like I think I imposed my personality or my mindset on the team, and it was wrong, as opposed to being a part of the mindset of the team and using my piece of the puzzle to help shape it. I think I got better at that after that, but I definitely feel like I cost that team that win for sure.
What do you think would have happened if you come into that game and the boys play great and it's a quick 3-0 and you get the win? Do you think like lessons can be heavily skewed by the result that happens based off factors that weren't what you put in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that comes to what we talked about earlier. Like I want to believe that I would have learned the same some lessons from the win, and I
Mm,
think it's really important that you try to learn as many things. But the reality is, you're just not motivated the same to evaluate
hmm.
after you win. Um, so I guarantee that lesson I wouldn't have learned,
Right.
and I made that mistake later for sure. Because that moment, I'm never going to do that again, and I haven't. I made other mistakes, million, but not that one. Because that's lessons, and the next time we won, that's what, well, they're kind of they're linking stories. So we lose 2010, 2011, we're the home team, and we get the worst draw we could imagine. It was a reverse tournament at home, and this is where we got sick. We had that awesome Alberta team in the quarter in our own gym. Like we had, so our tournament could be over on day one. But then, so that's where Point Match was born. It was that weekend. Was just understanding like to do something really, really hard, the ability to be present and have a framework to manage the stress emotions, to do something that we're gonna have to go through Alberta, Calgary, and then Sanderson. Like, my gosh. No offense, Brandon, but Sando was that team. Um, and then, but that's kind of where that whole thing came from is, and then the other cool part of that is when you can connect something you're doing to something even bigger than volleyball. And then for us, that was a faith thing. That with that team, then that actually makes it even more powerful because it's not something so small as volleyball. It's actually like a cultural thing. It's a belief for a core belief thing. I think that's when kind of mantras and things become really powerful. I mean, you think through history, like the worst things have been done when people have been connected to like deep religious beliefs or racial beliefs, or like these are the best and the worst things in history have been because of the magnitude of the idea. And not saying Point Match or something like that, but I think connecting something to a really big powerful idea, connecting your methodology kind of gives some momentum to what you're trying to do,
Hmm.
like Point Match.
Is that also where I remember every year we were in the final, you would say finals are never about volleyball. Is that where that idea came from as well?
Yeah, probably. I don't know if that one is as clear to me, but I think that actually might have been Ron
Hmm.
when we won in '06. Um, it was, if it was about volleyball, Alberta wins that every time. If it was about volleyball, we don't lose in 23 either. But there's just so many things. Like it's not it's one game. Anything can happen. The other team is awesome too because they're in the final. But it's not about volleyball. It's about who can handle the moment. It is not it. You're good at volleyball. That's why you're there. It has nothing to do with the game anymore. It's just, can you apply your performance under that duress and that stress and that moment? And I just think, I mean, I can't even imagine what that Olympic final is like. But I got to think it's the same thing in all high pressure things. Like, how do you? It's not. And but on the flip side, it is about volleyball. Like, can you reduce all of the stuff that's real and play the game? But you're good at the game. That's why you're in the final. Like you don't get there unless you're awesome at volleyball. You can't just luck your way into a final. So I mean, you got to have some luck in the final for
Yeah,
sure. That's right. Hot, healthy, and luck are the three things we've always talked about in finals, and to be great, to be champs. But I mean, some
that's cool.
people.
Brandon University men's team this year.
What's that?
Brandon University men's team this year.
Example. A perfect example. They got a little
Yeah.
lucky. They got
Hot.
they were hot and they were healthy. I mean, they were
Time off.
awesome.
Boom. Yeah.
Yeah. And really
Uh,
an unreal coach. But
Yeah.
Ook, should we move into your rapid fire questions?
oh no.
You didn't do it.
No, I left them at work.
Oh,
They're sitting in
Poke.
the office. Okay, hold on. I'll just give me 1 minute. I'll write them down if I can remember them, and then I'll just keep talking amongst yourselves.
Okay.
Okay, well, I got another question then.
Good.
Um, it's obviously evident how important people are, and we've talked on the podcast before about OKGs and what that stands for, and recruiting. I would say you had equal importance between character and performance. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's a little 60-40 or whatever, but we were talking before the podcast, before we went live, about your recruiting experience right now with Texas, and you have what do you say, 200 athletes on 20 courts or something like that. And I presume you have maximum 30, 40 minutes with a group of 10, 10 women. Are you purely looking at performance then at that point? Or are you still trying to find people that fit the culture? Or is the state so invested in winning that you just look for the best athletes and hope they fit the culture?
Um, it was super overwhelming when I first got to Kentucky. I mean, the first event I went to was the Bluegrass tournament, I think. And there was 130 courts over 3 days. And I like walked in, I'm like, what is this? Like, how am I ever gonna see anything? Now we have this app that helps guide you places and like tell you what courts everyone's on, and they have like different symbols, and yeah, it's wild. But it was just like, how is this possible? But then as it's gone on, you've learned it's the same ratios. So in Canada, by the end, we were recruiting largely against maybe, let's say, two or three other schools for a player. Like, so when we wanted a kid, it was, I don't know, let's say Alberta and then wherever they were from. That typically is what it ended up. And then there was always like another team who was nipping in there. Like UBC was real good for a bit. Calgary was really good for a bit. Manitoba had its moments. Like there's always teams. And then for a long time, it was always McMaster, Alberta, Trinity, and then where they're from. So the point is, let's say you're dealing with four schools, and then there's only probably five kids a year that could really help you. So then, like, really make a difference to your volleyball bit. Now, so you probably needed to get one, maybe two of those kids, and then you needed a third or fourth kid in your lineup. And now you're just really looking for an OKGs. Like, I don't care if this kid ever really works out. He's gonna provide these things for the team, and if it works out, it's just a bonus. Worst case scenario, John Weep, perfect example, ends up starting his fifth year. We never thought he'd ever play a day, but what he was is the ultimate OKG, and he ended up being really good at volleyball. So that was one of those great. But worst case scenario, if he never played, like he did everything we could ever ask John to do. So that was kind of the thoughts there. The ratios are pretty similar. They're just more. So here in America, let's say there's 20 players that can help your team. That you're dealing with probably 40 teams recruiting those 20 players. So you're kind of in the same spot. There's just everything is bigger. So the cool part is, like, when Schreimer was coming out, you're like, oh boy, if we don't get this kid, like, I don't know what we're gonna do. Like, he was one of one. Well, that doesn't happen here. Like now the problem is there's five. Let's say there's five Schreimers, but now you got to fend off 12 teams, not three teams.
Right.
But I think the principle still stands. Like, you don't need the best players; you need comparable players, and then you want the ones that fit your culture. And that's something that Texas has done a killer job of. Is the kids that they've pulled in the last couple of seasons are like unreal character kids. So not only are they great players, because Texas, Trinity, Alberta Mac, like, you're gonna pull in talent. They chose really high character kids. So like it feels a lot like our gym at Trinity right now. And it's super exciting. Like, these kids they want to get after it. They want to be good. They're really good to each other. They're super engaged. They're fun. Like, I was expecting like kind of like very selfish, into themselves players, because like you just don't understand. Like, Texas is so famous, but these kids are unreal. Like, they remind me so much of you guys. Like, amazing players and really awesome kids. I'm excited to see what they can do. But I think, to your point of recruiting, it's the principles are the same, and I think that's one of those great lessons: is men's or women's volleyball, Canada, America, like, universe, great principles become universal. And I think that's one of those great leadership things. Like, and they transition from volleyball to basketball to business to, and I think that's kind of what you guys have been exploring in these podcasts. It's like, what are the common themes between Kevin Tilley and Brody Hofer and me that like high performers do? And then how does that permeate into all parts of their lives? And I think that's kind of what I'm learning about our principles is good people who perform exhibit these types of behaviors. And these ones in my coaching context get expanded upon. These ones are damaging. They don't jive. And I think that's a part of the relationship piece, which sucks down here is we don't get to do that. So we don't get to build like, how many times did we guys have calls and coffees before you guys ended up coming, right? Like so much time getting to know each other and watching and hanging out. And we just don't do that because of the rules here. So it's harder for sure. We don't get to really build that relationship.
Interesting.
And for the listeners at home, OKG means our kind of guy, which
Or
is
gal now.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Are you using that back
I will
home
now.
or not? But
Well,
yeah,
now.
in Texas, our kind of gal.
Yeah, no, I think that belief is ingrained here. And I think, that's something that I would say, I think, yeah, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I think I know I've done this too. I've chased talent a few times and compromised. It's like, but he's so athletic. Like, we got to take a shot. Honestly, it hasn't worked out yet. When we brought a kid in, we knew it was going to be a challenge. It didn't work out. And I think we've seen a couple kids. I observed players transferring out of Texas previously that I wonder if that was it. I don't know. I've watched kids transfer out of other schools and not go on to great careers elsewhere. I don't know. That's why I don't want to speak. Like I wasn't here. I don't know their context. I know our context, and I know I did that, and I know those kids. A couple of those athletes just didn't. They didn't work out in my environment, and a couple of them actually thrived once they left. So it just shows that you can't coach everybody well. They don't. Oh, not everyone fits into your style, but
Yeah.
Right.
Before we get into Oog's questions, I have one more question about now that you're coaching women full time. What can the men's game take from the women's game and vice versa?
Yeah, that's a good one. So the way I answered questions like this before is the men could learn a lot from the way the women have attention on their detail and everything they're doing. And the women, I'm sorry, let's clarify. These are generalizations. So every athlete's on a spectrum. It's like I've had men on all sides, women on all sides. But I would generalize my experience by saying the men could do better with their details. The women could do better by playing. And I think you have these freak show athletes in the women's gym, but they grab onto a mechanic or a footwork thing too much. It limits their natural athleticism. And so then they become more robotic than they should at times. And I think a lot of men don't understand how important efficiency of movement and balance and postures and positionings are and eye work. And because I just want to jump and hit. Like think about my kids, like they don't want to hit balls in the range. They want to go play the par three. And we know that you're going to get good at the game by playing the game, but there's also an attention to detail to maximize your tools to perform well. And I think that's something we worked really, really hard at Trinity and became pretty good at movement and discipline of mechanics, and then allowed some freedom to go play now and like let you guys create. I think that's something that we've been really working hard at Texas is like, how do we let these girls like be freaks and not just drill babies, which I think is the natural tendency. And I think the higher the stakes, the more we want to have control as coaches. And I think that happens a lot down here. Coaches are trying to overcoach things because the stakes are so high. Like making a ton of money and you're going to get fired if you don't win. So then because of that, like they overdo it. And I think that's a limiting force for the athletes. So that would be how I generalize that. Um, man, there's a lot more there, but that's probably the generalization.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk about that for hours.
Oh yeah, it's been amazing. And then there's a spectrum. Like there's certain athletes. Like we had this one kid at Kentucky that, I mean, the way she like played was a dude. It was awesome. Like we had to like, no, can you just step with your left foot more? Like please stop just flying and doing cool stuff. But she was awesome, so super fun to work with. And then she felt a lot like, what are you guys like? You're just trying to like, great, this is what you can do. Like, can we just shape some of the chaos? And then there's other girls like, that classic phrase like, can you just look cooler? Like, I want you to look cool. Like, do the coolest thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
I just want you to like really look like you're gonna get
Swaggy.
paid because of how cool you look in this game. So, because don't look like a volleyball player, just look like a swaggy athlete. And I think I have more of those conversations than the other one, that's for sure. Whereas with you boys, I never had to say look cooler. I mean, I had to tell you guys to stop having so much.
Yeah, get on the toes.
Yeah, your hair is not that important. I'd rather you be blocked.
That's so
Good.
funny. All right, Oog, let's hit him with the rapid fire. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually fired up about these. I made some new ones,
Oh, boy.
revamped some old ones. So let's get into it. Rapid fire questions with Oog. Okay. Kind of a theme that I've been going on for the last couple that I've done was if you could do one occupation that had nothing to do with sports, what would you do and why?
Oh boy. I do sports. Can stay-at-home dad count?
Well, sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a great, that's a
I like
great,
that.
that's a great answer.
I try to change jobs with my wife every day.
Okay. What is the favorite golf course that you've played in whatever country? And what made it more fun than any other golf course?
And what'd you shoot?
Yeah. And what did you tell people you shoot and what did you actually shoot?
So yeah, or here's an insight. It's probably my personality then. Apple Rock, I shot 75.
Wow.
And I loved Apple Rock because I shot 75.
There you go.
And
And
where
that's
where
the par
is it?
3 course.
Yep, yep. That part was supposed to stay quiet, T.
Oh, that's funny. Um, what's your favorite part of Texas and like how is it different than Canada or what do you miss? What do you like about Texas, but what do you miss about Canada or vice versa?
Easy to say what I miss. I miss people. I miss being around all the people we love and care about. Um, the best part, I mean, that lake's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
You eating a lot of barbecue down there?
Yeah, too much brisket, man.
Oh,
I think I'm gonna have a blood pressure issue soon.
I could only dream.
No, and you know what? Let me that's what else I love about Texas. And again, this isn't a UT propaganda thing, but um I feel very much like I just the parallels between what Texas is and what Trinity was, it's close. I
Hmm.
feel a lot of those similarities with like the high performance mindset, the staff, um, the the mindset. Like, it feels really cool. And so I'm really fired up about coaching right now. And man, I haven't felt that way in a while. And that's not a knock on Canada or Kentucky or anything like that. I just don't think that I think when you find a fit, it changes. And I think you guys know exactly what that feels like. It's like, man, it's not Trinity and nothing ever will be. I'll never care about anything like I cared about that. But it feels really cool. So I'm really,
Hmm.
really enjoying my time so far.
Okay, I got two more. Going back to Kentucky. You went to the Kentucky Derby, right?
No, no.
Oh,
I know,
shoot.
but I went to Keeneland. So Keeneland is like the precursor that we have in Lexington before the Derby. but I never
Okay.
got the Derby.
Dang. I got really fired up about the Kentucky Derby this year,
Yeah.
and I wanted you to. For some reason I convinced myself that you'd gone to the Kentucky Derby.
Or let's pretend I had.
Well, I just wanted you to break it down. Like, how was it?
Oh,
What'd you
Oh.
wear? But I
Yeah,
mean,
what
that's
do you wear?
it's a big part of it. Ben wearing a big hat and some red sunglasses or something. I don't know.
That's a lot. That's too much for me.
Yeah.
But I think one of my buddies I played hockey with in Lexington on the beer league, I think his horse finished second.
Wow.
I think so.
Cool.
There's no way he'll ever watch this, so we'll never know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Cool.
Let's just go with it. That's freaking cool. Yeah, no, horse racing is one of the coolest sports, I think. Like it's just the culture behind it, and like people get wild about watching horses run a half mile.
Yeah. Well, fun story. When we're in Lexington, we first get there, we go to like I think it's Claiborne Farms. I want to say, but it's where Secretariat's buried. We
Mhm.
did like tour and stuff. Gracie's doing cartwheels on Secretariat's grave. It's God, they're gonna throw us out of Kentucky. Like we've been here a week, and it was pretty funny. So
That's cool.
hilarious.
Yeah. Okay, last one. Have you gotten any better at the banjo? And are you still making time for your hobbies? Like music.
I have not gotten much better at the banjo. I've still tried to get better at guitar, but I'm getting pretty good at golfing, and that
Mm,
is the hobby that I'm spending time on.
yeah.
And the reason for all of that is my kids are starting to come to the range with me, and I mean, the ultimate hobby is, I mean, and I think that's kind of what Jen and I talked about is like I coach volleyball and I raise my children. Like that's it. Now, oh, I haven't told you, but like I'm playing hockey 3 days a week right now too. So that's pretty fun. But so I'm trying to make time for those things, but again, I'm trying to think about significant security. Like I love competing and I've got some boys to drink beers with after a game. Like
Yeah.
that's good stuff. So um yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. Cool. Okay, well,
That's a
glad we
dream,
got that.
golfing with the kids.
Yeah, Daddy Caddy's the retirement plan. So I don't know which one of them's going to get good, but I'm thinking it's the little one. But
Yeah.
Which one's the little one now?
well, yeah, no, Grace is not the little one. She's the youngest one. She's a monster.
That's awesome. Ben, I got to run. I got a
Yeah.
scrimmage against the A team here.
All
But
right.
it was really good to see you.
Amazing, Jess.
That was really special for me. It's
I mean-
nice, big positive influence right now.
Right on, man. This has
That was
been
awesome.
so fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay,
Good luck in your game.
thank you. Love you, Coach. Happy
Good
birthday,
getting
T.
Go kick some butt, brother.
Try my best.
Cool.
Sweet.
What else you got?
Yeah, you said you've been watching the show.
Yeah.
I don't know how much, but I'm curious if you've heard anything that we've said that you disagree with.
No, definitely not. I think, yeah, I don't think I disagree with a lot of volleyball things,
Hmm.
but I don't think I ever disagree with philosophy or principles or beliefs. I think that's foolish. So when somebody says something that they think, like that comes from somewhere authentic and experiential, and I think that's awesome. Some things hit better than others.
Hmm.
Like
Right.
I bet you I think about a viewer in this one, or even you guys. I've said way too many words, but let's say I said 100 things, maybe 30 of them you liked and 30 of them you're like, maybe, and then 30 you're like, nah, I don't, that didn't hit. I guess I don't believe like disagree. I disagree with that belief. No, because that's an authentic belief. I'm not making stuff up, but I think that's kind of the cool part of listening to these things is there's a couple nuggets that somebody's going to take from that hit for their experience, a couple that are going to inspire some thought, and maybe that leads to something else. I think that's where I've loved going to all these coaches symposiums or these different things because you don't learn anything, but you're inspired or a thought is birthed, and then that leads to something really cool.
Mm.
Think about like, or even just our boots in the mud, circling back to that, like that just like, oh yeah, and then it all just starts to form. I think that's when these really cool ideas pop up. No,
Yeah. That makes a ton of sense to me. What's something, let's say about volleyball, what's something that you used to believe that you no longer do?
hmm. Oh man, that setters are important.
Oh, get wrecked. E.
Um, I
Break
mean
that down for us.
that's an overstatement. I
Yeah.
mean, every player is important, setter's important, but I think they're far less important than I used to.
Hmm.
Uh, now, every time I say something like, or if I say something like that, people are like, okay, you had 5 straight All-American or All-Canadian National League setters. Like, I know, but so maybe I'm not the right person to say something like that. But I think when you just break down the game statistically, it's like an outside game, outside player's game. Unless you have King Kong opposite, which we really never have at Trinity.
Mhm.
Uh, so I've never really had that player, so I don't know what that feels like. But the best teams are the ones who have the best left sides. I'm pretty sure it's kind of what I've come to believe now. Um, what else? I'm stuck right now on this whole serving thing. Remember, like we went through this a bunch at Trinity. Like, let's never miss a serve, and statistically, it should play out because statistically, it plays out. The rule of volleyball is if relative side out wins. If you outside out your opponents mathematically, you can't lose that set. Now you can lose a match because the five, but you can't lose a set mathematically. So then we were messing with those numbers a couple years. Remember that one game in Calgary we just only float served the full weekend?
Yeah.
Like we did some math and like we never miss a serve. They can't side out better than us. And it played out. But man, was that hard. Like, it was just hard giving a team the ball and just letting them be in system the whole time and pumping. So that led to understanding just how emotional the game is and how momentum and mindset are like huge factors. I think that's the great lesson there. So, um, it made me believe that, I mean, as much as statistical truths are there, like, geez, there's a lot of voodoo in volleyball. And that's stressful because
Yeah.
we don't control the voodoo. Um, so I think everything, I would say I believe everything less than I used to the older I get. I think I just don't believe in a lot of universals anymore.
Cool. I like that. That serving philosophy one with the Calgary game, that led to one of my bigger leadership mistakes in my whole career because we did that. Everyone on the team float served and we blocked defense, everything, but they were in system the whole time. And then the following summer, I was on the junior national team and we were playing Brazil in at the World Championships, U21, and we missed like I think eight or nine serves in the second set. We're down 2-0. And I was like, guys, everyone, let's just all float serve. We'll play block defense. We'll get our 9 points back, and then we'll win because that's what happened in Calgary. But you can't do that against Brazil. Like it's Darlan was playing for that team, so he's already touching 12 feet, hitting 120s. The whole team is popping in float serves. They sat it out at like 99%.
Yeah.
Like we're just getting absolutely shelled. And I was like, oh boy, you
Can't be
can't just
on a high net.
yeah, you can't just copy paste
Yeah.
strategies across the board there. So that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think about where's your philosophy at on defense? Because I was chatting with Ron Pike the other day, and he was
Yeah.
saying when you took over, your big thing was that you were going to implement way more defensive training, and that the boys needed to learn how to dig. And then by the time I got there, your philosophy was that digging doesn't matter.
So one thing I know about Ron is Ron loves to say things that make him be smarter.
Okay.
So I have zero recollection of this conversation, but it sure
Got
does
you.
Ron look right that we should be training block. I that's a joke aside. I mean, some truth, but the reality is going from an assistant coach where all you have is ideas to what you experience in the head coaching chair, where now you are implementing these ideas and some of them are failing miserably,
Mm.
makes you realize Oh, and we see this with our parents, right? It's like, oh, why would they do that? And then all of a sudden you get a little older and like, there is some wisdom with our folks. I went through that a lot where, and I probably don't do this enough where I should probably call Ron, like, yeah, you were right. You were right. Well, I should have done that. But you know what? And that's like our children too. It's sometimes they have to fail to learn those lessons because they needed to find it for themselves. And then,
Mm.
as a coach, I watch you guys go through that sometimes too. I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. And just gonna let it happen because this might need to happen, and for sure. So, like, I guarantee that's probably a true story, and I probably believe that. And then I started training digging, and realized this is pretty irrelevant to volleyball. We need to block board balls and serve better. It's just hard to dig. So,
Right.
uh,
And
but
is that your belief still? Is it different in women's volleyball because you can actually dig a lot more balls?
yeah, I think the for sure you could dig way more balls. So I think the transition phase is way more important. So I think the principle is if you let a flamethrower get the ball past your block, it's hard to dig. It just digs more. So like a good defender is going to dig the ball more often and gets a great spike than in men's volleyball. It's still not good enough. It's still better to block it and slow the ball down. Like that principle exists, but you can dig it. I mean, you let Darlin get an open net. I mean, poor bro is not digging that ball very often. You let Olivia Babcock have open net. You're still not digging it often, but just more than Darlin. So it just the the dig ability is higher. But also we have like 9 liberos on the court at all times. So
Right, yeah.
little diggers everywhere. So um but they're smaller, so there's more court. So it's unique. Like there's more shot variation potential because there's more space to hit, but the diggers are better and the power's not quite as much. So your uncommon ability to space is more important versus just creating sheer power opportunities. But even then, men's volleyball, everyone's gotten to way more um, kind of uncommon accuracy. Like
Mhm.
people aren't just overpowering defenders anymore. Like they're finding space and
Yeah.
playing lots of off shot blocks and really a lot of flat shots. Like so, I think the games are resembling each other a lot more now.
Yeah, I would agree. It blew my mind in France how often guys would make like hero digs.
Yeah,
They would make like 1 in 10 digs 7 out of 10 times.
yeah,
So it's like, yeah, that the standard is so high now
yeah,
for ability to keep the ball off the floor, especially in France. It's a ball control league, but
yeah,
those guys, like it was incredible
yeah.
what they were doing on
Well,
this. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say you see it with Japan and France and the
Hmm.
success that they had in this last quad, like two just teams that are more again great blocking teams, but very schemed blocking teams. So then a lot of times they're in isolation on defense because the scheme went wrong. I mean, you see, but that's great because they have the ability to make those digs enough to matter, and then so it lets them scheme themselves into isolation.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, along those lines, can you talk about um, defenders reading and seeing ghosts?
yeah, so I think the phrase I love from Tom was "You don't go anywhere unless you see something, know something." I think that's a And then so all of a sudden you have athletes all the time like, oh, I thought she was hitting here. I thought I saw. Oh, it's like, yeah, you saw a ghost. Like it wasn't real. And I think everyone's trying to play their players in the positions where the balls go. So whether it's a game plan or a system thing, but then players just love to run to spaces that are imaginary. So that's one of our favorite phrases. Like, did you see a ghost or did you see something real? It's like, I saw a ghost. It's like, exactly. Like, just can you just hold your spot and wait to see something real? Because if you don't know, then just stay home. Stay in your base or stay in your game plan spot. We want athletes to have the freedom to read because athletes have to make plays. And no amount of game plan or system is ever going to put you guys in the right spot all the time. But you also can't imagine something. And that's so learning how to have great eye work, how to great reads. And then if you're seeing ghosts, you're actually minimizing your learning as well because if you move to a spot based on a ghost, not only did you miss information, you had a negative response. Like there's no positive. response to the lesson. So, for instance, like if you were here and they pump over there, like, huh, what did I not see? Like, so there's a positive correlation to the kind of database of learning. Whereas if you go here and they hit there, we have to get back to neutral before we can learn the positive, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
you went negative. If at least if you're neutral, you can move to the right spot next time.
Hmm.
Whereas we got to stop you from seeing ghosts before we can start to learn the right things.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there value in separating that in training, like giving opportunity to read, like just go wild, go where you think the ball's going, or go where you think you see the ball's going, and then other opportunity where it's just systematized and you just stand there? Because I think, again, I felt good at just doing my job, and my job was to stand in the right spot. And so then I never even really tried to read. I would just stand there, wait to see the ball, and then try to dig it. Whereas if I had experimented more
Yeah,
with learning those patterns and reading, maybe I would have been a better defender.
totally. I think your coach needed to be better for sure for you. Um, I think so. I think there's two parts to that answer. Is one, you doing your job is the baseline, and that's great. But then you have to
Mm,
build on that. Like you have to go make plays. So you have to be able to read, and then you have to go and maybe see a ghost or two. And but like, why did I see that? So I think that idea of
mm,
don't go until you see something, know something is core. But then the ability to fail and learn is the other part. And you have to pursue plays, not just default into it. So maybe some more activities where it was like they're spiking and you have the whole court by yourself. Maybe something like that would let you just kind of try to figure out the read. I mean, that's where like games like beach are amazing.
mm.
But again, beach guys, they're not seeing ghosts either. Like they're intentionally doing something. And yeah, they get beat sometimes because there's so much court. But like there's an intentionality to the way like you can't see ghosts and be good at beach either. So I think there's a sweet spot. And if you felt like that, then I failed you as a coach because if you felt like you weren't free to make plays, then it's on the coach's environment to free you up to play within the framework more freely. Now,
Mhm.
I think that's the philosophy. And maybe so if someone like yourself, who's like really mindful of doing the right things, maybe a good coaching tactic for someone like an athlete like you would have been to like break you out of that a little bit more and let you try to do more freedom to read and build a database that way. Whereas other players who are like freewheeling all the time need some more structure.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the creativity of yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
maybe part of the variability of being a good coach is understanding what certain athletes need inside of your framework.
Right.
I mean, you need some more freedom pushed on you, whereas Colton Lowen needs a little more structure to where
Right.
he's
Yeah, that
Yeah, that's
makes
cool. That's
a
really
ton
cool.
of sense to me. Um, on the topic of experimentation, one thing that
mm,
was amazing in in your gym at Trinity was just the freedom to try, and or maybe not even, like, most of the ideas weren't coming from us, but you felt the freedom to try and experiment with our systems, and trying to run a double pipe or use the slide because no one uses the slide. All just so much experimenting. Where does that come from? Why is that valuable? And what's the balance between doing what works versus uh, always just pushing the limits of something different that may or may not be better?
maybe we were just bored.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for sure in COVID we got weird because
Yeah.
we were training for sure. But um, I think now the cool part to remember is how many of those things do we actually do?
Yeah, not many. That's my question, because there's like there's some things that like started as a seed and then grew and became really valuable, but then lots of them just get chopped off because they just didn't work.
Exactly. So any innovation wasn't perfected when it started in anything. So how many times do you think they failed at flying before they flew? So I think, but if they never kept trying, then they never would have flown. And I think that's to me what our innovation or our curiosity needs to continue for. And I think doing stuff, as long as it came like, all right, so the double pipe. The double pipe was birthed because our D ball sucked. So if the D ball is bad, the right side ball is more efficient than the D ball. Okay, so we upgrade there. But then we have two gaps in the middle of the court we got to occupy. Well, the on you is a pretty efficient ball, but then we still have this other gap. How do we occupy that? Well, then let's figure out who can fill that. So like the principle guiding that experiment was sound. The way it played out is like it's going to happen so infrequently that it's not worth the training to apply it. But you know what we learned is a lot of cool stuff about Jordan Schnitzer's ability to hit right side. And we learned an awful lot about kind of a wide pipe versus an on-you pipe. And so there was a lot of really cool things that we learned trying to follow a principle. So I think that's one example. Or the slide, like, great. Well, the slide, what we learned about the slide is left sides just go block it. So they just leave. So it just gives you an open bick. So great. What we learned was that we can't hit it. But what we did learn is it's going to peel a blocker so we can set bick. So I think that's the cool part is not getting wed to your original plan. I mean, are you trying something because it's rooted in some principles that you believe in, and then figure out, well, like, what are you actually learning? Like, I think you read these stories about these inventions. A lot of times that what wasn't what they were trying to invent. They were trying to invent something else, but then oh, look at this. This is kind of cool. And then they go there, like, I don't know, like the sticky note or like you read
Yeah.
these stories, and I think that's kind of why it's important to keep trying to mess with your structure. Otherwise, you're just kind of the same as everyone else. And if you don't have better players, then you can't win. Also, I'm pretty sure we were bored.
Yeah, in COVID, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely one.
I got to peace out. I got to go to work. I'm
Right
gonna be
on.
late
All
here, so
right,
I'm gonna go sell
we're
some
dropping like
chemical.
flies. Yeah,
Maybe
good luck,
go
Oog.
and fill up at the local UFA. Who knows?
Oh man, right on, dude.
Okay, love you, Ben. Take
Yeah,
care.
man.
Thanks for coming on.
All right, man.
Peace out. Happy birthday, T.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
And then there were two.
Cool. Yeah. Um, I love that principled experimentation because
Yeah.
yeah, if you can kind of lose yourself probably if you're just trying stuff for the sake of trying, but if there's a reason behind it, that makes a ton of sense for me.
I also feel like every major innovation in volleyball was made by an athlete, not a coach.
Mm,
So I don't know how true this is, but like I imagine the jump serve was just you guys in a practice warm one up. It's like, well, I bet you I can hit from here. It's like, no, I bet you I can hit from here. It's like, well, I can hit from the service line. Like, bullshit, do it. And then
yeah.
sure enough, it's like guy hits it, and some coach saw him like, hey, that's legal. Like, let's figure out how to train that and repeat that and make it a repeatable skill. Same thing, like the Encapet pipe on two. Like, I just guarantee it, the ball was dug and he just jumped and hit it one day.
Mhm.
And then somebody's like, well, I'm not letting you do that. And then they blocked it. And then he's like, told his buddies, hey, be ready. I'm going to set you. And then he did. And then now it's become organized and systematized by coaches so that it's a repeatable part of a system because it makes sense. The best way to win high balls don't play. So now you don't play out. So again, these weren't, there's no way coach is sitting in his office going, all right, when the setter digs, he's going to dig it to Irvin and he's going to come out and fake spike and set like that was never the thing. But
Right.
then about Jesse's set to Pierce on the three,
Mhm.
like that was like, we were just joking around. Like, do you think you can set middle? Like Pierce, like, I'll be there. And Jesse's like, oh, I could do it. Like that wasn't something we hatched in the office. That was just, we were repping the pipe on two. And then Pierce is just standing there like a goon and wanted to be involved. So then he and Jesse figured it out, and then they tried it in the game and it worked. And it was like, but again, that's the cool part is like if you don't create space for innovation for your athletes to be creative and find new solutions, then it will never happen. Like
Mm.
again, like the fake spike lefty drop, which is now quite a common attack by many, many athletes. Well, there's no way a coach invented that. That was some athlete given the freedom to try, and almost all these things come down to NCAPAT.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But I think there's just not every innovation, like the forward pass, or like coaches systematize things, athletes innovate.
Right.
So letting a lot of our experimentation led us to organizing. Like again, when we played Power Tech, we realized that Schnitzy was unbelievable spiker on the outside. And when we had Jesse set, we realized Jesse's a really great setter. And what we learned is Warden's quite a good blocker in the middle. He reads great. His block footwork is awesome. When he jumped in the basic block drill, it was like better than the middle. So like all of these like random things that appeared in practice, we were like, how do we use that? And
Mm.
then that weird 6-2 was kind of hatched to try to take advantage of like, holy crap, Matthias is a great spiker. And then, holy crap, let's have Jordan hit all three zones and let's have him hit one D ball because, like, watching what happened. But if we never played Power V Tech, we never would have realized that Schnitzy was that good at those things. We never would have realized some of and then utilized people's skills that way. So there's that freedom
Yeah.
within the system bit. And then, honestly, the stakes are so low for so long in Canada with our schedule. We
Yeah.
have months of games that don't matter. I mean,
Mm.
important, but they're not crushing. So,
Right.
case in point, we can float serve against Calgary for a whole weekend, and I was prepared to lose both games to learn that.
Yeah.
But here in our NCAA calendar, like you can't lose those games.
Right. That makes
So
it more difficult to create those opportunities to experiment.
we're not in the gym enough to really experiment.
Mm.
Like we won't see our girls again until August 6th. So we
Okay.
have this training time in the spring and this long preseason. We have 3 weeks in the fall. We have 17 days to be ready for the first match. And
Wow. Yeah.
matches are must win. Like you have 4 opening weeks and they're must win games. So it's like you just don't have a lot of time. So
Yeah.
everything's about repeatability and getting good at kind of your base, and you start to layer stuff in as you go. But especially at a place like Texas, like the stakes are so high, we have to win.
Yeah. Oh, that makes it tough.
Yeah. It's a little
I
different.
I noticed when you were speaking earlier about coaching men versus women, I noticed the same uh, thing in when I coach just private lessons or small group stuff, especially with setters. Like the
Yeah.
girls will just do exactly what I tell them, and it's like programming a computer, right? Like it just runs on the loop
Yeah.
that you told it. Then on the experimentation side, the guys oftentimes will not do what I told them to do, but they do something else that maybe is better, and then I just say do that again. And
Yes,
that's kind of what you're talking about, but from a team context with
for
the
sure.
system stuff or the new techniques. Like
Yeah,
I've noticed that as well. It's like sometimes they just do it better than you could have told them to do it, and then
sure.
your job is to just tell them to do it again, and then figure out how to teach other people how to do it that way as well.
Because incredibly wise coaching observation. Like just think about you when you were training you and Warden setting. You're not the same player. You don't set the same. You don't have the same rhythm. Now there's some principles, like we believe in framework and
Mm.
cylinder control and rotation and these things we believe in. But how you do it and how he did it were completely different. So how your hands worked and his like so having this is what we believe now. Yeah, like let's figure out how you do it. Like how to
Mhm.
make you good. You loved way more of this, whereas he wanted more of this. And
Yeah.
great. It's awesome. We just need the ball there on time and rhythm from a repeatable way. How you go about it, how he goes about it, it doesn't need to be the same. And I think a lot of coaches, especially in me when I was young, I wanted everyone to look the same because I didn't have enough bandwidth to handle that many variations to coach. So as
Mm.
my bandwidth grew, I was more comfortable with more styles and I was more comfortable with the principles I believed in, and then that's where we make mistakes still. Like I made a bunch of those mistakes with Canada, like trying to force people into my bandwidth. And that's I didn't have enough bandwidth to handle some of the things that those athletes could do and some of the things the opponents were doing. It's like, shit, I'm just not good enough to coach this much variation at that precision. And that's one of
Yeah.
those things like, jeepers, I got to get better.
Mm.
And and now here in America, like same thing, like huge learning curve on what you can and can't do and what the athletes can and can't do and how they respond to stuff and the pressures that they're under. Like there's just so much different. And that's the cool lesson is every context is unique and it's a puzzle. And how do you figure that puzzle out faster than the other guys, the other
Mm.
girls? And so that, but I think that bandwidth bit is important. And it's
Yeah.
important to understand if you know you don't have it, give your like just be more flexible, quicker,
Mm. Mm. Gotcha.
then that will help.
Right. That makes sense. And then probably over time you can see similarities player to player. Like,
For
oh,
sure.
those like, oh, you got Adam's feet or whatever, or Ben
Uh,
balls.
don't do that. The
Oh, don't
reason,
do that.
no, 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 no,
Okay,
no. I think that's a trap.
cool.
I think and there's lessons for coaching of coach. This is in the book, my kid's book.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't compare your players to each other.
Hmm.
And we tell our kids all the time, don't compare. Don't compare yourself to your brother. Don't compare yourself to your sister. Don't compare yourself to others. You will never be them, and you can never match them. Now, you can steal their skills and emulate great behaviors you care about. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's a different mindset than comparing. It's like, oh man, you're so much like Adam's feet. Well, what if you don't want Adam's feet?
Yeah,
What if you don't want that? What if you don't want to be compared to Adam? What if you hate Adam? What
right.
if you are now like it's just like it's fixed mindset, growth mindset stuff. Now I'm putting you in Adam's like, well, now you have to have feet like him. So, oh man, Adam's the best. I have to have feet like him now. Like, what does he do? And now what started off as just a simple compliment is now fixed your brain into trying to be Adam's feet.
Right.
That was never intended that way. It was trying to compliment you.
Hmm.
That's where like comparison just works in crazy ways with athletes. Now, I mean that's something we fight hard with our kids, and I try never to do with athletes, and I've done many many times, and I right after saying like, ah, dang it. So I think and I think we talk about this a lot. Is you want to find the great player performers in your position and in your game, and you want to steal their qualities and emulate what. But as a coach or leader, we don't ever want to say and compare. I
Hmm.
just think that sets the athlete up for failure.
Yeah.
So I would
That
that's been my experience.
yeah, that's a great point. I think probably every setter at Trinity has experienced that because we do that ourselves,
Yes.
trying to live up to the guy before us. And yeah, I guess as a coach, you help find players find themselves.
And it's so
Um,
subtle, right? Like I would love for you to have a better heel finger release like Warden does.
mhm.
So instead of saying, "Hey, I want you to have those hands," or "Your hands remind me of Warden's," like I don't want that. I want you to like, "Hey, you know what I love about Warden's hands? I love the way his hands kick, and I just love how clean his finger release is. I love that about his release. You know what I love about Adam is his ability to manipulate his release timing above the net. I love that about Adam. You know what I love about Josh is Josh's ability to play the ball so high and be able to spike it at the same time. Or, I love about Kame is, you know, how big his hands are and how long he could hold the ball at extension.
Mhm.
And what I love about Benny Ball is he could set right side from in front of him. But like saying that you need to do that or comparing you doing it, I don't know. I just think that's dangerous.
Yeah, I
But
would agree.
all those things you should probably steal. Like, well, that's why we study video.
Yeah.
You know what? This weekend at Gold Medal Squared, there was something they said that was really cool for me is they talked about video feedback and they talked about watching yourself isn't as good as watching the model.
Hmm.
And this, tell me what you think of this is like, all right, so if we're working on a setting move and we want to model after Brizard, let's say Brizard is our optimal model for rotation release, which actually he's pretty amazing at that. That's
Okay.
probably a good. So instead of having you set and having the loop on you, watching you fight through. Like, sure, all right, we'll show you some Brizard. Here's 10 clips of him. And now we'll put your loop on the TV. And you can just watch yourself work through getting better at your rotation. One of the things they were suggesting was it would be better for us to have Brizard's loop on the TV. So
Hmm.
you set and then you watch him. And then you set yourself and you watch him. They're
Hmm.
suggesting that your movements will synthesize to the model better than watching yourself. And that leads to our comparison bit. So if you're watching optimal move, now I think the ultimate model would be you doing it right that we have on loop. I think that's a whole nother level. Like imagine if we have 10 clips of you doing it perfectly right.
Mhm.
And that's our loop. You could just watch yourself do it. I don't know if that's better or not, um, but they're suggesting watching your own loop is not as effective as watching the model. I think there's something really interesting.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I want to dive
I,
into that.
yeah, I love that too because one of my favorite things to do when I was playing was just pretend I'm someone else.
Yeah.
That was like one of the best ways to get me out of my head and also to learn new skills was like when I was learning how to spike, I'm like I can barely even get the ball to go across court because like my shoulder's so internal. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pretend I'm Eric today,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden I can do it. Not because I don't know how to do that. Like it was just in my mind, I was trying to make myself look like Eric, and then my body knows what it's supposed to do because I've seen him do it so many
There's so
times.
much science on that external cueing. And I think
Hmm.
that's even another level extra because you're personally external cueing yourself to a model that you've seen. Like, you've seen Eric spike 1,000 balls. You know what that looks like. And
Yeah.
then what you probably did is you probably had a different load and you had a different hip timing and all of these things that I could study on video as a coach of what you did to open up the angle. If I told you to do that, you could never do that as fast as when you just pretended. And we all did that as kids, right?
Yeah.
I patterned my pitching motion after Nolan Ryan because he was my guy. And I watched him play all the time. So then I'd go back and I try to look just like him. So like I had this picture of what he looked like. So I tried to look just like him. I didn't ever watch myself do it. But then all of a sudden you're like, oh, yeah, you pitch like Nolan Ryan. Well,
Yeah.
I don't. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a whiner.
Yeah.
But I think there's something to that. Every kid does that. We sit on the playground and we imagine that we're Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or Nolan Ryan or except for Leon Draisaitl. Did you see that they asked him? It was like, "Hey, when you were playing as a kid in the Stanley Cup, like who'd you imagine you were?" And he's like, "Me." It's like the most German response ever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, I
That's
always thought it was Gretzky shooting in the Stanley Cup final.
yeah. I think that's probably an underutilized tool, coaching,
Yeah,
and for athletes. Hmm. But the video one is really interesting.
yeah,
I
uh,
I can totally see how that would be
yeah.
beneficial watching someone else do it, and then you're getting your reps. Like look at the TV, do it like that. Um, yeah,
And then there's
100%.
the comparison. This is all spawned from that. So in the we don't want to compare you to Brizard.
Hmm.
We want to model and steal his strength. Like you are you and you have your style, but right now he's the best in the world at creating rotation timing and energy. Maybe, but let's assume. So that's what we believe. So then if we have you modeling after that, and in coach, now we're talking about coach mechanics. Like first, we have to get you to understand and believe that that is something that you want to do. And then we have to come to the agreement that this is the model of what we believe it looks like. And once we have that foundation of belief, then I think you'll take in that information. Like you wanted to hit her cross court, so you chose a guy you thought was a great cross court hitter. You
Yeah,
didn't model after, I don't know, Big D.
yeah,
I mean, he's a pretty good cross court
yeah,
hitter.
yeah, yeah.
Eric. So
Right.
I think that's no offense, Big D, but I think that's the idea of the other thing they said this weekend and I thought was brilliant is like before you can be a great coach, you have to be a great salesman.
Mhm.
And athletes have to believe in what you're selling before they'll actually believe in the product. So um just like a salesman, like they'll never know if it's a good product unless they bought it. So how do we get you to believe that this is the right thing? Now that's partially our relationship, that's history, that's whatever. And so if you believe that I'm giving you something that's valuable, you're willing to try it. And then the second part, as we talked about earlier, is that if you believe that we're not going to force something that doesn't work, then you're going to be more willing to try it. Just like all the double pipe crazy
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Hey, boys, just try this. Like, well, is this what we're doing? It's like, no, we're just screwing around. And because we screwed around and with enough things, you guys knew that, hey, if it doesn't work, we ain't doing it. So let's just try it. Whereas sometimes with athletes I've been coaching, you'll, hey, I want you just to hit cross court for a bit. They're like, so I have to hit cross court now? It's like, no, no, no. Just for this activity, I'm constraining. Like, so I think learning constraint led approaches teach a lot of cool things. But I think a lot of athletes will grab onto, well, you told me to hit cross now. No, no, no. That was for 10 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
what'd you learn? And I just don't, I think that explorative constraint style is just foreign to the players here. Like when
Mm.
we play Funga, it is wild. Like they're getting better, so they'll start to figure out the hack. But then the first time they have success, they grab on and that's what they try every time. The experimentation stops.
Mm.
At first, they want you to tell them what to do. So, for instance, if you're going to play into the net and you get the fourth touch and you can spike, the moment they play into the net, so sometimes they'll play into the net on third touch and knock it over on fourth. And then they want a point, then that team, that's what they do. Another team played into second touch and then played it out. And then the third team played into the net and used the kick tool to set.
Hmm.
But no team learned from the other team. They just stayed with their method the whole time. It was like this kind
Right.
of social experiment. It's like, oh, when you figured out what worked for you, you stopped trying something else.
Hmm.
As opposed to that worked, but is there a better way?
Yeah.
Is there a better way? And this idea of tinkering is just not natural to the teams I've coached here.
Right.
Like in just even like USA development groups, like you could just watch. It's this immediate performance feedback. Like the
Hmm.
moment something works, that's what we're doing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this is going way back, but even like your performance mindset in big moments, like I think it's so tough to continue experimenting because your sample size is so small,
For
right?
sure.
Like I got to play in two national championships. I tried one thing and won and lost, tried a different thing and another and won. So now it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so this doesn't work and this works.
Yeah.
And then
Totally.
just like just sticking with that because the next time I get to play in a final could be like a year later or years later. So it's unfortunate, but I love that in practice, just like
Yeah.
iteration, thinking like where can we go? And if it's principled at the same time, then
Absolutely.
that's a gold mine.
Well, and I think your national champion example is a linear example, and I don't think it's linear.
Mm,
I think it's like a pyramid. So you tried this, it didn't work. You tried this. All right. So then we reduced some of the variables. We learned
right.
that things don't work. So now this is the range of what could work. You chose this. So try that again. All of a sudden, and it worked again. It's like, oh, now you refine. Oh, these that it's like a process of elimination, to your point, until you have enough sample size to really eliminate the variables. You won't actually know what worked.
Yeah.
You just know that worked versus these things. And then
Right.
you add in the contextual differences, like being defending versus being after coming off a silver, having me in my last season versus Adam in his first season. Like,
Yeah.
like,
There's
and
too much there.
totally. So again, all that's the cool part of what we do is there's just so much to think about, and almost none of it is concrete.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Um, Alrighty, let's go last question here. This
Okay.
has been awesome. Um, Pretty basic. What would be your advice to your younger self?
Man, so many good ones. I think we talked about good. I think I wish I did better at that the whole time. Just I also would say, hey, it's gonna work out. Like, don't take it that hard. Um, I also say, I think the biggest thing that I wished I did better quicker and still struggle with is crystallizing thoughts. Um, I think a strength of mine, I believe, is when I have an idea, I'll go with it pretty quick because there's just not a lot of time sometimes. Like you go, but then using our curiosity conversation, just because we went with it doesn't mean it was right.
Hmm.
But sometimes, like to your point about the Nationals, like all of a sudden, I believe that this is the way it should be done because it worked. as opposed to, no, that worked in this context, this time. So hold loosely to it. It still might be right, but not because it worked. It still might be right because it worked. It will work for this player and it will work in this context. And
Yeah. It's
I
like
think
the Calgary float serving one, applying it to
100%,
Brazil.
100%. And I just think I've made that mistake over and over and over and over with players and teams and skills. And um, I just think, and I just think it's normal human nature. You find some success and you try to repeat the model. Like, look at movies. I mean,
Yeah.
Top Gun just remade the exact same movie.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I loved it. But I think that doesn't work for your volleyball team. You can't reproduce the same thing. The principles guide the decisions and staying rooted in what you believe, but then making like constantly evolving and attaching what you're doing to the principles from the context. And that's really where the great coaches have survived the longest. Um, I really wish I didn't crystallize thoughts as quickly as I did
Hmm.
and still do and still struggle with it. How about you?
Awesome.
Tell me you. What's your answer to that?
Advice to younger self? I really wish that I had learned earlier to enjoy the game.
Hmm.
That's one of the saddest parts for me about not being able to play anymore is that I really like I had the most fun playing volleyball of my entire life for like a year and a half right at the end. And I think I found something where, yeah, just like an appreciation for the competition and the pressure and the the potential of losing, going all in emotionally. Like I really started to love that. And yeah, had I found a little bit more of that like through all of my club years and all of my university years, I think I would have. I had
Hmm.
such a good time, but I think I just it would have been over the moon, I think, with
Hmm.
if I could have found that earlier.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Question for you then. What would be your advice to me as a young coach? Knowing what you know about me and my
Yeah.
coaching, what would you advise me as a young coach?
From my experience playing
Yeah.
with you.
Or
Oh,
your experience.
oh, from my
But that's
I see, I see it. I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Like, how would you have helped me find that earlier? Is that what you're asking?
Cool. Nope, but I like anything. Let's leave it open to your interpretation.
Okay. Well, in my situation, I don't think anyone could have taught me anything that would help me. I think it was self-discovery and failing, like we talked about, battle scars, working through it. Some some people probably had influence on me and helped me work through it, but I think it's the unfortunate part is that a lot of those things have to be self-discovery and have to be learned through sucking. So that one I'm not sure, but advice for you.
Like, how could I have coached you better
Mm,
or your teams?
I don't know. I I think I came in like I probably had less confidence than most people thought.
Mhm.
Maybe that was clear,
No,
but no. Okay, yeah.
sure
I
not.
probably had less confidence than most people thought. And it's like a slap in the face when you come in your first year, learning the system, especially as a setter, understanding how to run an offense. I didn't even know what that meant, really. And well, I remember one time quite clearly in my second year, you were getting on me about taking ownership for my offense. And I was like, I don't even know like what to do. Um, and I
Um,
didn't, yeah, yeah, which I don't think was a mistake. Like again, I think it was me, like a self-discovery process for me to learn how to take in the information that you had been telling me the whole time. And like maybe you could have dumbed it down for me and like started like at the most basic level, but again, I think it was just I just had to grow up a bit, get a little bit tougher, think a little bit more clearly. I'm not sure.
Well, here's a good coaching lesson that kind of was revealed through that answer. Um, the reason, one of the reasons you're special is because of the amount of personal ownership you've taken in all of those answers. I needed to fail. I needed to be more aware. I needed to be more attentive to what you were saying. I needed to uptake more information. I think that personal accountability or extreme ownership, Jocko calls it in his book, you're owning your gaps. And that's a high level trait. Not every athlete will look at it like that. Those same answers, if we flip the script on a different athlete, if I ask that question, they're like, you didn't teach me the offense well enough. How can I have ownership of something you didn't teach me? Or, you know, we lost because you didn't prepare us well enough. Coaches weren't behind us. Like there are athletes, even on our teams, that have elements of that, those thoughts. On that 22 team, I guarantee you there are athletes who would probably have those thoughts somewhere in their head at some degree. Maybe not like, it's the coach's fault. I don't think anyone's like that. But I do think there's some that's like, yeah, coach should have made that sub, or we shouldn't have done that, or we should have started this rotation, or well, that timeout was late, or that was on coach. Like
Right.
I guarantee you there's some of those thoughts in some of the heads. And that doesn't mean it's wrong. But the fact that your answer went super extreme ownership is a great trait. But I don't think everyone thinks like that.
Hmm.
So I think that
Yeah.
things that makes you successful. But I also think it's important to understand that some athletes aren't going to look at it like that. I also think those athletes tend to not survive very long.
Yeah, it's like why would you want someone else to be responsible for who you are and what you can do? Like even if they are, even if the coach is ruining you, like just that's not helpful. That's zero value in thinking that way.
Well, think about some of the European stories we hear from pro. Like, I can't hit off that setter. All of a sudden now they find a new setter. Like
Right, right.
just because that guy can't hit, like if you're good, you can hit off any setter. But I think like you hear those stories, or you hear, you know, guy
Hmm.
doesn't steal a couple balls, and the setter's like, that guy sucks, get him out of here.
Hmm.
Like you're blaming that guy for a bad set. So I just think it's important to have that ownership piece. I love that answer for you.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't help me as a coach. I'm not better because you just blamed yourself, but
Yeah. Yeah, well, we talked about this the other day. It was like what percentage of a player's improvement is uh happens because of the coach and what percentage happens because of the player. And as a player, I used to think it was like 90-10. Like my I was responsible for my own improvement. And then as a coach, I was like, oh man, it's like 90-10 the other way. Like I can make these guys better. Um, probably yeah, that's probably just the way I think, but I think I'd still think the athlete is just like so important because you can tell them whatever you want as many times as you want, but if it's what they do with it that's really important at the end of the day.
So I love my marriage. I think Jen and I have a great thing going, and it's because we both try really hard.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of the whole deal. To your point, I think if the coach tries really, really hard to do well for the athlete and the athlete tries really, really hard to learn in the environment, then I think you got something good going on. And I think everything else is semantics of who's responsible for what. It's like your job is to be a great learner. My job is to create a great learning environment and challenge you. And then learning happens.
Mhm.
It's nobody's responsibility. It's the job. Like,
Right.
it's my job to direct attention to lessons that you don't know. It's your job to understand what your upgrades are internally. Like we both identify our gaps and then we both work to build environment to get better and refine and refine. And I think that's
Yeah.
now you're in the coaching context, so your brain sees it from there. As a player, you saw it from there. And I think those are both really healthy.
Yeah.
But it's important to take another step up and realize that it's collective responsibility to the learning and upgrading of the whole group.
Yeah.
What is your part in it?
again, I wouldn't judge it. Your job is to learn and to make yourself better and your teammate better. That's the job. Like everything else is like, who cares what percentage it is?
Right. Yeah.
Just get better. Like
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
be
that makes
better
sense.
at learning.
Yeah.
And my job
I
is to
got
be
you.
better at teaching and coaching. And at some point, we're going to win
Yeah.
or lose. And that's going to be our determination of how well we did.
Hmm.
That's the cool part of sport too, right? Every Friday night, you get an evaluation on how you did.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for
Not a
sure.
great week. Not,
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
great month.
Hmm.
But the cool part is long, and this back to our first combo, as long as there's another game, you got a chance to upgrade and try again. The finality of it, and you talked about this in one of your pods, but just the finality of that, of the loss of the season sucks. Like there's no practice on Monday. Like I can't make
Mhm.
up and I don't get another shot. I mean, and that's one that, you guys brought up. It's like that was my last game coaching Trinity, and I never get a chance to make up for that. Like that is and I feel the same with Canada. Like I don't love the way that went, and I
Mhm.
never get a chance to try to upgrade it. But that's the finality of things. And so the lesson of that is then good, then make sure you're making the most of your opportunities.
Yeah.
To your earlier, like make sure you enjoy playing while you can. Enjoy that team while it's the team. Enjoy this. Here you are, you don't get to play.
Yeah.
Wish you had more fun when you did.
Yeah.
You
Again, zero value in rumination and regret.
Yeah.
Like I just don't even let myself go there.
Totally.
And you use it obviously to influence and
Correct.
impact the way that you go about things now, but
Correct.
hoping you're wishing you could change stuff, just
Absolutely.
no value.
No, for sure. But I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Yeah, right. Right.
That's right from 2010 lesson. Like, I want that back, but that's just how it works. And if I didn't learn that, we don't win in 11.
Yeah. Yeah,
If
absolutely.
I didn't. So I also don't think it works like that. Like I don't know, like what is it, like destinations or whatever, like that. If
Oh.
first doors, like if one thing happened different, this is what it looked like.
Oh,
That's
right. Yeah, yeah.
work. Like this happened. We responded like this, and I'm happy with our response. This happened, and we responded like this. Happy. Like, I just think it's really, really important to make sure that good. Good. This is what happened. Good. So this is where we're going to
Mhm.
be.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, Ben.
Unreal.
That was so much fun. We'll have to bring you back on. There's probably so much more we can talk about, but that's probably our longest pod yet by an hour, but that's great. That's what the
Most of it you're gonna have to edit out.
no, 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 it's amazing. This is what the people wanted. So thanks so much for coming on. It's
The
great to
best.
see you again.
Yeah.
Love you
guys are.
lots. Miss you.
Yeah, I love you too. Miss you.
Think that wraps up episode number 38 of the Pit to Pro podcast. Thanks everyone for listening.
38.
Signing off. That's your favorite number?
Unreal.
Let's go.